Hey, scrapbook friends, it's Nicole, and I'm here with the June 2023 edition of our Savvy Scrapbookers video collaboration series. This month we are using the US of Yay paper pack. And as always, Donna Guest, Debbie Martin, and I have taken one paper pack and this time one embellishment pack and split it up, and each of us is making one double page layout with this same collection. And so if you watch my video and then you hop over to Debbie's and Donna's, you'll be able to get 6 pages, 3 double page layouts using just one paper pack and one embellishment pack with no duplication of resources. So it's not like we're all going to choose the same paper. So this is the layout that I have come up with for this month. We're going to use several tools this time. We're going to use the circle punch. We're going to use the firecracker punch. Now this was released a couple years ago, but it's still available and it's actually on last chance clearance. And then the new fireworks punch. You're also going to need, of course, your 12-inch trimmer. We always need that. You're going to need a regular tape runner and a repositionable. We're also going to use some foam squares and or foam tape. This is always optional, but you know, it's really fun to have that. And then of course your 12-inch trimmer. The papers that I'm going to use for my layout this time from our collaboration are the little USA dots. The back is this navy plaid. We're going to use the white with the little blue stars. The back is the red plaid. We're going to use the blue stripe. Looks like it has red on the back. That's just see-through, but it's this blue stripe, which does have the red on the back. And then this multicolor stripe that has the little waves on the back. Okay, so the dark blue stripe and the blue stars are going to be our background. So I'm going to set those aside for now. We're going to start just by building our border. Oh, we are also going to use this one strip from the embellishment laser borders. And this would be optional. If you didn't have the laser borders, you could do without this one. And then I'm going to also be using some firecracker shimmer and some starry night shimmer cardstock. As we were talking, as we were planning this this month's project, we just assume that you have a stash of cardstock as scrapbookers. So I hope it doesn't mess anybody up that when we throw in cardstock, but you are going to always want to have kind of some basic colors. And frankly, I think that the shimmer cardstocks are definitely basic cardstock colors. All right. Okay, so the first thing we're actually going to do is we're going to cut this one. And what we're going to be doing with this is making some little circles to be to go down the bottom of our page. It doesn't matter on this side which way you punch, but it does matter for this side for using it as a border. So you want to punch along the side with these little waves going horizontally. All right, and the way I like to punch, I like to use my punch as a measuring device. And by using this side of the punch, that's going to get me my layout so it's fairly centered. So I'm going to punch upside down just to make sure that I have this the way I want it. And what I'm going to do is the first one, I'm going to line up the edge of my paper with the side of the punch, just right lined up right here on the side. And punch number 1. And then to punch number 2, we're going to use that same side, but we're going to line it up with the edge of the circle that we just punched out. All right, so it doesn't have to be super exact. That's just going to make sure that they're all going to fit. All 5 are going to fit on this page. You do want to take these out after you punch. All right, and so that way I was able to get all 5 of these along one side. And then I'm just going to go ahead and flip over and punch along the other side because we want 2 strips of this so we can do a border on both sides. I don't always do the same border on both sides of my page, but for this one, I like the way it looked and complemented to have it on both sides. Usually I like to have photos to show you for my layout, but these are going to be my 4th of July photos, and I don't have any from the last couple years, so I may or may not have told my husband that I want us to go to the fireworks just so I can have some photos that I can use with this layout. Okay, now we're going to set these little guys aside for part of our layout, and we're going to take this piece that we just cut and we're going to trim these circle strips to 2.5 inches. Okay, so put this at 2.5. And then we're going to flip this over and do the same thing with this 2.5. All right, so that's going to be kind of the base of our borders. It's not exactly centered, but I feel like it was pretty close. Then we're going to take the USA paper and we're going to cut this one at 2 3/4. And what's nice about the 2 3/4 is that it manages to get the cut right in between the letters. So you don't, you have the full little USAs. Of course, if you do not live in the US and you don't need an American celebration layout, you could do this with all sorts of other paper. I think it'd be really fun with, of course, some Disney paper, and maybe I'll try and make it with some Disney paper at some point and try and show that to you. Okay, now we've punched out the pieces for our border, but before we assemble these, I think I want to put the rest of the page together because you have a couple of different options for how you assemble this, and I want you to be able to look at it and play with it and come up with a layout that works for you. You may not like things quite as busy as I like them, or you might like them even a little bit busier. So I'm going to put these aside, and then we're going to take our 2 papers that we had set aside, the blue stripe, calling this one the blue stripe, it's got the red and white stripes on the back, and then the white with the blue stars. And we're going to weld again. I know that you guys don't necessarily love that. If you hate welding, if you're just like Nicole, you got to stop with the welding. It is really okay for you to then stick this to a base page. You can use the white inserts that come in our paper packs. Now that these are just a paper weight and they're not cardstock, they're not going to add a whole lot of bulk. You could use those if you want, or you could stick them straight to your album page. But the more I do welding, the more I really have come to like it. So we're going to cut this. We're going to weld this. We're going to cut both of these papers at 3.5 inches. So I'm going to have these 2 and these 2. And there is kind of, I think there's kind of an up and down. I can't really tell. Maybe there's not. All right, so both of them we cut the same. And then you're going to need 2 1/2-inch strips of paper to weld with. And I don't think it matters. I don't want to use this one. I'm going to use that one for mats. So let's use this guy. We're going to cut 2 1/2-inch strips that we can weld with. And this is where you're definitely going to want your regular tape runner, not a repositionable tape runner. Okay, so what we want to do is to have this border, and I kind of feel like there is an up and a down direction. So I want it to go up and down. So that one's going to go on that side, and this one's going to go on this side, and then I'm going to put like this and this. Okay, so here's the prototype again. And then we're going to, put these together using the welding. So set it up the way you want it, then flip it over. And I'm really sorry, this one I know is kind of hard on the eyes for just a minute. Then we're going to take our adhesive, hold them kind of together, and then take your adhesive and run your adhesive right over the seam about every inch or so. And you only need about, just a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch of adhesive. And then take your little strip and just use that to cover up the adhesive. I think I've told you this before, but when I first learned about welding, I was told to put the adhesive on this strip and then stick it down, and I hated welding. But once my friend Sherry Tilley taught me how to do it this way, it has been life-changing, and I love welding. I love having less bulk in my books, and love being able to use, one paper across 2 pages, or, you know, have 2 pages as my background without having to have them, you know, be one white side and one blue side. I get to have both sides on both patterns on my layout. Okay, see how fast that is and what a cool look it gives. All right, and that's not even straight, but nobody's going to care because that's going to be on the back. Okay, so here's our base page. And then we're going to make little, like a little bunting. And you could take the circles and cut them in half, but I'm way too lazy for that. So we're not going to do it that way. We are going to just leave the circles whole and put them together this way. So I'm still kind of struggling with this part. I don't love the way it looks with the 1-inch measurement, but that's the one that worked the best for me. So cut 2 1-inch by 12-inch strips from your firecracker shimmer, or some red, or you could use white, whatever is going to work best for you. And then we're going to need our Creative Memories 13-inch cutting mat. So you see that I do already have a different mat on my workspace, but I really like the CM one because of the way the measurements are. So I'm gonna move these 2 guys out of my way. And so what I did, oh boy, my mat's a little dirty, is I took my pieces and I lined them up just using my mat. And because they have a stripe, I did try to kind of keep the stripes straight. And again, the stars kind of do have an up and a down. And just the way it punched out for me, they're all kind of the same design with the blue stripe in the middle and the red, you know, the reds, it's kind of centered. So it's going to come out to be about 8 inches. You see, I'm just using the edges of lines of the stripe, not necessarily the middle stripe, but there's always one that seems to work out okay to come in here. And then I want half of this to be covered so that all you see is that little bottom piece. And so the punch is 1 3/4 inches. So it's like 3/4 of an inch is the halfway point. So I probably would have been better to put the adhesive on there before I stuck it down, but I didn't remember. So here's that 3/4 of an inch and 3/4 of an inch right there. Oops, look, that one's stuck off the top. All right, so this was a little fiddly. And maybe we should have just started with it, but I really want the stripes to be as straight as possible. Go all the way over here so I can use that measurement again. 3/4 of an inch. So I didn't do this in my prototype, but I kind of don't love this width, this 1 inch with the 3/4 of an inch bunting. So at this point you could, if you wanted to, go down and trim this a little bit smaller. I didn't for my others, and we don't have to do it. You know, you don't have to do it. You're probably fine with it. So this time I think I'm going to put the adhesive on my circles before I line them up. All right. So this would have probably been easier if I didn't pick one with a stripe, if I just had maybe an all over pattern or a non-directional pattern, but I really like the way this little bunting thing worked out. So I just had a moment of panic that I put the adhesive on the wrong side. All right. There's this one, my last one. Okay. And so again, we're going to take this, put it a little bit above, I guess, above the 3/4, because last time I had some that didn't fit. And I'm lining up on both sides. All right, and then I'm going to trim these. I'm going to use my trimmer. And I'm going to do it on the back so that I make sure that I trim in the right spot. Okay, I did actually cut a tiny smidge off that circle, but. All right, so now these are, I think these are 8.5 inches. Oh, they're 9 inches. Okay, 9 inches wide, which is going to be great because that's going to work with our little borders. Okay, so now we can play with assembly, and you can see what I mean about making some choices regarding how you want to do your layout. So if you want to, this is the way I did it. I put these little guys down here. And then my borders were the USA as a base. Oops, I'm off the screen, sorry. The USA as a base. And then this little wave on the top. Okay, and then we have a couple extra pieces we can cut mats from if you want. Or if you wanted to, you could do it this way and have the white as your kind of your edge, and this multicolor stripe, which then is going to coordinate with this. But this one's real busy, y'all. This was too much for me. I don't know. So you could do it like this if you wanted to, but then you'd want to put it separate so that you have the contrast between the blue and the white. So here's this way, version B, and here's version A. I like version A. So we're going to do it that way, but just know that this is scrapbooking, and one of the things I love is that you can make this your own. But I'm going to make this my own by going back to what I had before. And so we're going to do the borders with the USA showing, because I really like that USA. And then this little light blue. This was too much right here, but this, I liked this. I felt like this was okay. And actually the bottom is a little bit wider. One end is a little bit wider than the other just because of the way it punched. I like to put the wider piece at the bottom. So we're going to do it like that. So let's go ahead and build our borders. So make sure when you're doing this that you want to then put your adhesive on the side you don't want to show. And I will admit to you that when I was making my prototype, I did have to redo it because I accidentally put the sticky on the blue page and not on or the blue side and not on this red, white, and blue stripe. So I am really liking foam tape right now to pop borders up. This is optional. If you don't want to use foam tape or foam squares, you could absolutely just stick these down on your layout. But I'm finding that on my layouts or my albums lately, my pictures all tend to come to the middle, and I do a lot of like where I put a secondary piece of cardstock like I did with my Cue the Blue layout, you know, where like it's a couple of layers in the middle, plus then the pictures and the mats all tend to come toward the middle. And so the edges, the sides and the top and bottom tend to be a little bit skinnier. So when you close my books, there's like fatter in the middle and then it kind of skinnies down. And so once in a while, I like to use something dimensional on the outside edges or the top and bottom. And so this foam squares, the foam tape really works for that. And so if you see on my prototype, it just gives a little bit of a shadow under the punches that we haven't punched out yet, but we're about to. And I just really like the way that looked. So remember I said that the top and bottom aren't quite the same. I felt like the foam tape wouldn't fit on here very well. So I'm going to go ahead and take this and I'm going to cut it in half. And I love the microchip scissors for this because they have this Teflon surface, so they're non-stick. So I'm just going to cut. There's still kind of a pain to try and cut this little guy because it's you know, I don't know, it just is. It's sticky. It clings to the scissors as much as it can, but I like the effect that you get. So I'm going to take my little half pieces. These are about 2-inch maybe 1 3/4 inch wide. And then this one is just cut in half. And then it is a little tricky to get this positioned. So make sure that this is on where it needs to be, covering up this sticky. And I'm going to position this kind of before I take that tape off. All right, kind of right there, and I'm going to hold it down as best as I can. I think I'm going to start right here in the middle. Kind of went down a little crooked there. So, but I've only taken the adhesive off one little section, so I can still peel this off. Ugh. Okay, I'm gonna start down here. Maybe I should have started at the bottom. Just aligned the bottom. Make sure that it's straight. Okay. All right, now I think I scooted it down a tiny bit, but oh well. No one's gonna know. I just want to make sure that this is as straight as I can get it. And it is a little bit more fiddly with the foam tape than it would have been, especially if I'd used a repo. You guys who love your repositionable adhesive are probably shaking your head at me, but I just really like the foam. All right, so there's the first one. It's a little bit wanting to curve up, but we're not gonna let it. And then the same thing, we're gonna put the tape on the back of the, on this multicolor stripe, the red, white, and blue stripe. We're gonna put the tape back here. So you need basically 4 full pieces that are about 1 3/4, 2 inches, because we cut this at 2.5, right? So 2 inches or so is fine. So I've got all my tape down here on the red, white, and blue, and then I'm going to do one more piece. Or if you have some of the little squares, you know, I tend to always have some of these left over. You could absolutely use those if you don't want to fiddle with this, or if you're not even using the tape, you could just use your little foam squares. But as I've used more and more of this foam tape, I'm liking it more and more. It just gives me so many options for what I want to do. Okay. Doesn't like to keep the backing on though after you cut it. Okay. So we're going to stick this down again, making sure that it's, so this one you can see there's kind of, even here, this side is a little bit wider than that side. And on this one, the wider side was to the outside. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this over so that there is kind of that symmetry. I don't think anyone will notice if you don't do that. I'm going to try it like this. I'm going to hold these 2 pieces down, stick these down. I don't think anyone else will notice if you know, if it's just a smidge wider. It's just one of those things that I tend to notice on my own layouts. And it's funny because I don't really notice it on other people's, but on my own, I'm always like, oh man, I should have done this, or I should have moved that over 1 millimeter or 3/16 or whatever. So that's what I've done. Actually, by doing that though, then I got the wider piece at the top. So go figure, I can't get it right no matter what I do. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and punch out our little shapes to go in here. If you don't have both of these, you could probably just get by with one. You could use some stickers. You could use any kind of different kind of design in here, but I really love the way that this works. So I'm going to punch 5 each of the firecrackers and the fireworks. I'm going to do the same thing with the firecracker that we did with the circles. This time I'm going to align my second punch with not this longest punch on the outside, but that punch right there. And that's going to kind of give me a nice evenly spaced design all the way down. And these ones fall through the bottom, so that's nice too. 3, does want to catch a little bit. Okay, that does give me a little extra at the bottom. Maybe that wasn't quite right, but you could then totally use this as a border on something else, you know, trim that and cut that off. I'm not going to for this because that's just all we need is that. And then I'm going to take some Starry Night shimmer and we're going to punch the firecracker. This one's a little trickier because you can't see through to the bottom. And it's at a pretty sharp angle. So I'm going to start again with the edge of my paper with the edge of the punch. And you do not need to have a full piece of paper for this. I hope I mentioned that already. But when I punch the next time, it won't fall through. So you got to pull it out every time. I don't need to go all the way to here to make it fit because that's just going to waste a lot of paper. Instead, I can actually take this piece and put it right at the edge of that. And I'm going to get this nice little row. So the white edge of my punch is aligning with the outside edge of the firecracker that I just cut, right? So this bottom of the little stick. But you definitely want to make sure you bring them out because, as I have learned the hard way, they stay in. And so if you don't, you will you'll double punch. And we're going to do 5 of these again. All right, so there's my 5 firecrackers. This does make some really cute, tiny, tiny confetti stars. Just super tiny. So if you're someone that loves shaker cards or something like that, you might want to save these. I am not organized enough to save them. So in the trash they go. Now I'm going to use foam squares again or foam dots or whatever to pop these up. But I'm going to use the foam tape for the fireworks. And just because that's what I got handy right here. And because I think I always use the big ones. And this makes it fit just right in the middle. So we're going to do 5 of the fireworks and 5 of the firecrackers. Firecracker, we are going to use the foam squares just because we have to trim those down a little bit as well. And I'm just putting it right smack in the middle. And I don't even know actually if the regular foam squares would fit. Well, and I don't have any regular foam squares right handy. I'm not going to take the time to look for them. So I'm just going to use this. If the regular foam squares won't fit, you could use the small ones, of course, or you could cut them. And again, these microchip scissors with the little Teflon are great for that. Because I don't want any of that foam tape to be showing through on the other side. And then I'm going to take these and I'm going to alternate. So I'm going to do, and just because I am me and I like to be symmetrical, I found that I really like to have this be up and down, and you can kind of use the little USA bubbles to help you see if you're straight. So 1, actually maybe I won't, maybe I'll just be wild and crazy and not go straight. 2, I think actually it looks better if you have a little randomness. So ignore what I said about lining it up, but you do need to position it. These little fireworks are exactly the same size as the circle. So you want it to be centered, although actually it might look cute if you just kind of went off the edge. So you do you. I'm going to do 3 on this side and 2 on this side. And I'm just kind of lining up the edges so that I get it centered. Either make it way off center or make it centered. Don't, try not to make it just barely off center. Okay, so those 2. Now to do the little firecrackers, because it punches out those tiny little spaces, you don't want to have any adhesive that goes through that star. So what I did was with my little mini squares, I left it on the backing sheet and I'm going to cut them on the diagonal. All right, so I've cut this little guy into 2 triangles and I'm going to put it, there's 2 places, and I'll pick this up and show it to you in just a minute, where the little half squares fit just right without showing through. Okay, so can you see that? Come on, let's focus. There we go. So you see it doesn't show through, so no sticky is going to get on me. All the rest is just kind of floating in space now. And these are a little bit longer than the circles. So I'm going to, again, put these, kind of vary the direction that I put them in my border. I'll show you again. You just have to kind of work around those little stars by putting it, you know, in an L shape. I don't know how to describe what I've just done, but you can fit it on here. Or you could go back and, punch this out of white too, put some, like the whole thing is foam, and put some little white stars in there. But I just like I like the foam squares, and I'm too lazy to fill in the gaps on something this tiny. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Probably should fast forward through this in my editing, but I don't think I will. I do kind of like to do things in real time. I probably could do either side on some of these. I don't think it matters. I don't think anyone's going to notice if there's a front side and a back side. If you don't have this blue shimmer, you could have used the blue, this blue. There is you're going to have some of this left. You could have used that. I tried it with that originally, and I just felt like it was too dark. I felt like it really needed the shimmer cardstock, but you could use just regular blue cardstock, or you could use a different color. You could use, if you're not doing red, white, and blue, I think this would be really fun for, theme park fireworks. And you could just use whatever colors of that particular theme park. So, but I do kind of feel sad for our little firecracker punch friend. It's been around a long time, and it feels a little bit unloved. So I think it works really well with the fireworks. Sorry, firecracker and fireworks. I'm really having trouble with those two. And I just got, hanging off the edge, top and bottom. All right, and I'll have this guy even be more like an angle going up off the edge. Okay, now I'll get all my trash off. I am trying to keep my workspace tidy. Not my strongest suit. And now we're going to go ahead and assemble. And you see how putting this on the blue just makes it kind of pop a little bit more than if it had been on the white. It just kind of got lost on the white, which is, originally I was thinking about doing, one side white and one side blue, and you could do that. But I didn't. All right. And this might have been easier to put the adhesive on if I didn't already have the foam on, but we're going to put this on. And it's about, oh, actually, I'm not going to put that on yet. I'm going to put these on first. Haha. Okay. So we're going to take these little buntings, and I'm going to put it right up against the bottom edge. Just maybe a 1/16 of an inch, just a hair from the bottom, trying to keep it as straight as I can. All right, and then I'm gonna put this so that this lines up. Make sure your USAs are in the right direction, so that it lines up with this piece of red. That's what I was doing. And again, you got a stripe on here, so that's gonna help make this, make that look straight. Now, when I put this one on, I'm going to line it up with that one as well, so that both of these line up. So when I get my pages in the album, they're going to look even. This one's poking up a little bit. I'm just going to take my scissors and chop off its head. Okay, now it's not poking up anymore. Haha. All right, and then we'll do the same with this guy. So the next step is going to be optional. This paper pack does not have any stickers with it. And we had stickers from last year that were left. But of course, as soon as this collection came out, all those stickers also sold out. So there, we have no Americana stickers to go with this time. So we chose to use just the embellishments or the laser borders, and you only get one of each, and they just all seemed a little bit much. But I thought this one right here, you know, makes a nice little accent. If you don't have the laser borders, you could absolutely cut just another strip of just the red and put it across. I wouldn't put it across here. I like the way it kind of splits from here to here. This was 3.5 inches, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this at about 3.5 inches. When I did my prototype, I cut it exactly, and it left a tiny little, like a smidge of hair, you know, hair's width on here, and I don't love that. So this time instead, I'm going to put it at 3.5 inches, but then I'm going to scoot it over so that I cut between the squares instead of having that little gap. And then again, you can choose, this laser border is red and blue or blue and red. And so if you'd rather have the blue and red, you could, but I like the red. I'm a red girl. And so we're going to use our repositionable adhesive. So I'm going to just put a little bit of repositionable on this. I think one of the reasons why I don't love the repo for everyday use is I feel like I use more of it than I do of the regular. So about a little less than 1/4 inch from the top. Just a little. And so it did go over into the blue a tiny bit, but I think I like that better than having a little extra super skinny strip on the edge, like my prototype did. All right, so it doesn't quite go to the blue, but I think that still looks really fun and okay. And if you wanted to, you could even put another, you know, a little firework or something up here. And so at this point, you may want to wait and see what your pictures look like. We do have some paper left. We have these two pieces that you could cut into mats. I really like this one as mats. The dark blue, you could use the firecracker shimmer for some mats, or this is the Starry Night or the firecracker if you wanted to, but you may want to wait and see what your photos look like. This piece right here though is 6.5 inches wide. I think it's 6.5 inches wide, if my math is right. Yeah, there we go, 6.5 inches wide. So it's really easy to cut two 4.5 by 6.5 inch mats. And use these as photo mats. And then you could even, you know, do something here with that USA up at the top. I don't know that I would go all the way into here, but I do like this one with the little dots. And I like to cover up some of this. I felt like this was too wide. So I'm really struggling that I don't have photos to put on this for you. I don't feel like it's a complete idea without the photos. But hopefully you guys can get the gist of it without the photos. You could absolutely do photos like this. You could do your photos. Well, I guess this doesn't really work. You wouldn't want the 4.5 by 6.5. You just want 4 by 6 mats right here. Some squares would be good. So maybe don't cut these until you're ready to put your pictures on. I think I'm going to cut this in half. This is 6.5 by 3, I think. So I'm just going to cut this into a 3-inch. I think I'll cut 2 3-inch squares. And then I'm going to put these two right here. Something like that. Because I really do like these little USAs. And maybe leave one of them Or you could do that if you want it to. I don't know. I feel like if you're going to put it on the white stars, use the dark blue side, and if you're going to put it on the blue stripes, use the USA. So I guess you could use this that way. If you really like the USA, don't do it upside down. Something like that. But it's going to depend a lot on your pictures, what direction you have them. See, I don't like this, how it blends together. So let's go back to what we had, which is 2 horizontals right here. And then this, we'll do 1 right here and 1 right there. Okay, lots of choices. How you want to do your photos. I hope that you enjoyed this idea with the cutout circles and filling in the spaces. You could do this with so many things, and it just makes a fun border, whether or not you use the foam, no matter what you put in the middle. You could do stickers. You could even do a title. You know, I don't know. You'd have to come up with a 5-letter word. If you play Wordle, you probably know lots of 5-letter words like I do. But, you know, you could put your title in here, like maybe it's a baseball page and you do home run or something like that. So I hope that you will find ways to use this kind of circle, negative space layout idea in your own scrapbooking. And I would love to see what you come up with. So let me know in the comments, was it okay that I didn't have pictures for this one? Would you rather that I find pictures? I mean, I could have just even found like some stock photos or gotten pictures of somebody else's family. I'm sure there's somebody out there that has 4th of July pictures that have not been scrapbooked yet that might have been willing to hook a girl up. But yeah, let me know what you prefer as far as having photos, not having photos, and I'll try harder next time to give you a complete finished layout. I know that I think Donna and Debbie are actually doing titles and everything on theirs, just using ABCs, but until I get my pictures on, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. So I hope you will have fun using US of Yay or any other paper kind of paper collection that you like, to see if you can come up with something that's a similar idea using the circle punch, the fireworks, and the firecracker. So don't forget to hop over to Debbie Martin, Debbie Scrapbooking Buddies, and Donna Guest, the Lazy Scrapbooker. Their links will be in the description on my video. And then you can see their layouts that use the rest of this paper pack and the lasers. So we will see you next month on the 2nd Wednesday with another edition of the Savvy Scrapbookers. And I hope to be back with you before then, definitely with some new product previews. Hopefully that will be tomorrow. And some layouts and some album flip throughs. So thanks very much. Sure appreciate all the comments and the likes and the shares. And I will be back to see you again here on YouTube very soon. Thanks a lot. Happy scrapbooking.